Welcome to the Paper Mario The 1000-Year Door Bestiary. This video details all the stats for every enemy in Paper Mario The 1000-Year Door, along with a scenic tour of its many iconic locations. The bottom corner of a window will indicate the timestamp for when it will disappear, making it easy for you to skip ahead if you wish. You may also use the table of contents at your leisure. Here you'll find the timestamps for every window, which tells you when each one will appear on screen. I will provide commentary on every enemy. However, if you wish to experience this video without any commentary whatsoever, then you may do so by clicking the link in the description. Lastly, this bestiary would have taken a lot longer to make if it weren't for JDAster64, who's the man behind all the stats you're about to see. He actually compiled most of the stats that were in the Paper Mario Bestiary too. Also, big thanks to the Glitz Pit Challenge server for some helpful advice, Super Mario Wiki for supplementary info, and Nintendo Movies, whom I credit for nearly all game footage shown. I will now cease commentary and resume upon the first enemy window. Enjoy!
Here we go.
Lord Crump, first battle. If you somehow, against the confines of reality itself, manage to lose this fight, then you give up your commenting privileges on all of my videos. Good luck, sport. Gus. This guy guards a path on the east side of Rogueport. You could either pay him 10 coins each time you pass, or tell him to shove his spear up his butt, which will lead into a fight where he tries to do that to you instead. It's not recommended to fight this guy at the beginning of the game since his health pool and damage output will exceed your own by a long shot. Come back later when you're stronger so you can handle what he's trying to poke you with. Is what I'd say if I was a chump. You can beat this guy easy peasy so long as you know how to super guard. When it comes to Gus, keep Goombella in front as a shield and have her defend the entire time. Her head bonk or Mario's jump won't hurt Gus due to the spear. Have Mario hammer away to Gus each turn and prepare to super guard each of his attacks. If he charges with the spear, then super guard it with Goombella. Worst case scenario, you miss the super guard. Sad days. But she won't take as much damage because she's in defense position. If he chucks his spear, then he could be aiming at anyone, even the audience. I'm just kidding, he can't hurt the audience. But look out for the audience, they're gonna get hurt a little bit later on. So be on point with your timing. If you're not confident in your super guards at this point in the game, but still want him gone, then go buy a sleepy sheep or two. His chances of snoozing on patrol are quite high. Goomba. Alright, hear me out. You know how Goombas are able to use psychic abilities to hold on to their baseball bats in the Mario baseball games? Actually, not just in baseball, you'll see these guys somehow holding on to tons of objects all throughout the Mario franchise. Yet not once have I seen them actually put those hidden abilities to good use. When it comes to these Goombas in particular, they're a pushover, like always. Paragoomba. Unlike their grounded buddies, these fly, I would say sky high, but they're barely hovering above the ground. Their aerial position will warrant a boot rather than a hammer though. If you somehow didn't knock one out with a single attack, then you'll knock one down to ground level. They lose their wings when the slightest bit of force is put upon them. They should have invested into better ones. Spiky Goomba, grounded just like its Goomba companion, but oh so spiky. Jumping's how you ruin a nice pair of Jordans. Stick to hammer swings instead. By the way, one of the first fights in the game is against a Goomba, Paragoomba, and Spiky Goomba, all at once. This is a cool way to show players how they need to think strategically about which of their moves will and won't connect with different types of enemies. I know I talk about game design a lot, but I love thinking about what the developers did since it lets me better appreciate the work they put in towards some of my fondest memories, you know? Spinia. I wish more was known about them, Goombella. How are these papery boards sentient? Well, I guess everything in the Mario universe has eyes, huh? Whatever. They only have 1 more HP than a Goomba, which isn't saying much. Their spin attack is harder to defend against than a head bonk though, so stay firmly planted and don't get tripped up. This is a melee, not a brawl. Spania. They attack in the same way Spinias do, except they have a couple spikes sticking out of their head. Maybe those white parts on the bottom are buck teeth? What I know for sure is that a hammer will keep these creatures in the sewers. Blooper. I wasn't expecting to see tentacles here. Not that there are any places I have in mind that I expect to see tentacles. That didn't come out right. And neither will the outcome of this match if you're not paying attention. Old Bloopity Bloop's got 2 tentacles he'll whack you with. You've got to take him out if you want to make the main Bloop vulnerable to your stylish attacks. Wailing away at the tentacles a few times will do the trick, but you can easily knock them all out in one go by using a Fire Flower. It'll also deal 3 damage to Blooper himself. After the tentacles are out of the picture, Blooper will fall and won't be able to attack for a little bit, but show no mercy. Once he gets up, he'll ink blast both you and your partner out of salt. If he isn't defeated after a few turns in this form, then he'll float back up to the top of the stage and the fight will continue the way it started, with 2 tentacles on the screen and me feeling hungry for some sushi.
Oh yeah! Whoa!
Koopa Troopa. A single stomp of the foot or bonk of the head will leave these guys upside down instead. They'll then flail about, which wastes a turn doing nothing, or get up off their lazy bum, which, although it makes them upright again, will also waste a turn for them. So go make some turtle stew. Bald Cleft. Goombella's tattle about how bald guys don't really do it for her kind of implies that she has some kind of attraction to other species in the Mario universe, huh? Guess that shouldn't surprise me much considering all the romance Mario gets into in this game. For how early in the game you fight them, the defense on these guys can be rough. You can defeat one by using a power smash, or defeat multiple by using a POW block. But if you only have one POW block at the time, then save that for the upcoming fight against the Bristles. Alternatively, you could super guard their charge attacks to deal 1 damage back at them. The cool part is that they only deal 1 damage, so if you have someone up front go into defense position, then the Bald Clefts won't be able to deal any damage to your character. This means that you could practice super guarding all you want until they're defeated. Doesn't that just rock? Bristle. You can't jump on them, you can't hammer them, and you can't fire flower them. They've even got 4 defense. Sheesh. Your only option is to use a POW block to defeat them instantly, or super guard their attacks to deal some no-you damage. Fuzzy. I don't know about you, but dealing with their kissy kissy move is off the table for me. I recommend a fire flower to rid yourself of these cootie-kissing creatures. Gold Fuzzy. Unlike a normal Fuzzy, this one made of fool's gold isn't able to siphon your HP. Not like that matters though, since it's got a bit more HP of its own. And it has an army of Fuzzies at its disposal. The good part is that defeating this ringleader will cause all of his Fuzzy friends to flee immediately, so make sure your attacks are targeting him instead of the Horde. Fuzzy Horde. You don't have to take down all of their HP to defeat them. Simply defeating the Gold Fuzzy is good enough. Under normal Paper Mario rules, an enemy fleeing would yield you no star points, but the Fuzzy Horde is luckily an exception. Even if they flee, they'll still leave behind star points, which means there's no excuse to not target their boss. Unless you're a sadist that just likes picking on the Mario universe equivalent of sewer rats. In which case, that's kinda weird, dude. Paratroopa. One bonk of the head of these guys will cause their wings to detach as well? Man, Mario enemies really need some better wing insurance, jeez. And leave them plummeting to the ground as a normal Koopa Troopa. If you land more than one bonk of the head, then not only will its wings ditch them, but they'll be flipped over too. Being a Koopa Troopa just doesn't sound like a fun time, honestly. Dole Bones. With only 1 HP and 1 defense, a row of Dole Bones can be taken care of easily by Koops' Power Shell. If for some reason you're unable to use Power Shell, then a Power Block or Fire Flower works here too. They may build another one of their kind up with more bones. Creepy. Don't give him the chance, please. Red Bones. Did he die himself or something? How? Get to Red Bones himself as quickly as possible by using Koops' Power Shell to knock out all the Dole Bones surrounding him. Then you can attack as freely as you like. Just keep in mind that unlike Dole Bones, Red Bones can revive at full HP when defeated, if it's given a turn to do so, which is why you want to focus on defeating his bony friends first.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Hooktail. This boss will either be a pain or a pushover, depending on whether or not you have the Attack FXR badge equipped, which will emit a cricket noise every time Mario attacks. Each time Hooktail hears this noise, her attack and defense will go down by 1. Her attack can't go down any lower than 1, and her defense can't go any lower than 0. This means the battle will get easier over time, as you'll notice Hooktail's attacks dealing less and less damage to the point of being as weak as a Goomba. If you don't enter this fight with the cricket badge equipped, then good luck. Just kidding, but seriously, this battle can be tough without crickets chirping everywhere. Power Smash and Shell Toss are good moves to get past Hooktail's defenses. Don't be afraid to use any items in your arsenal if the battle's heating up. If you can time your super guards, then try it for Hooktail's Fire Breath and Stomp attacks. Just don't try it for her Chomp attack, since that's one of the few attacks in the game that can't be super guarded against. No matter how you enter this fight, don't fall for Hooktail's tricks. Deny the coins, badge, and smelling her feet when she asks, lest you want to get sneak attacked. Pale Piranha. Well, if jumping's out of the picture and they don't have any defense, then a Power Shell could be used well here. They're extra vulnerable to the sleep sass ailment, probably a reference to how Piranha Plants dozed off in Super Mario 64. A piece of trivia a few commenters brought to my attention in the Paper Mario Bestiary video. Dark Puff, or as I like to call it, the Rain Cloud Puff. It can change its positioning at the start of every turn. This, however, does not cost a turn for it to do. If it's close to the ground, then your hammer and shell toss attacks will reach it, but Quake Hammer specifically will have no effect since it's technically hovering right above the ground. Darn technicalities. Don't make direct contact with it once it's charged up with electricity. Instead, try to find an indirect way of attacking, like using a fire flower or earth tremor. The latter will only work if you manage to cause the stage to actually reach the Dark Puff though. Cleft. There, Goombella, here's a Cleft that isn't bald. Does that do anything for ya? Beauty standards nowadays. Sheesh. Just like the bald Clefts, you can slam through their defenses using a power smash. Other than that, a PAL block, Earthquake, Earth Tremor, or Super Guard would do nicely as well. Bob-omb. First battle. This sister siren of the shadows will be found way in the back, like the cowardly witch she is. Her spells range from a blizzard, which can hurt both you and your partner, a growth spell, which will cause one of the sirens to gain +2 attack, and a shrink spell, which will reduce you or your partner's attack by 2. You don't have to worry about these spooky spells until she's under half her HP though. She'll just punch you up until that point. All spread attacks will get their use here as you try to nail down every siren. Marilyn, first battle. Unlike her sisters, Marilyn's melee attack deals 2 damage. She can also charge herself up to deal even more damage. She'll be allowed to use her thunder attack once she's at half HP. If you're using spread moves to attack all sirens at once, then Marilyn will likely be the last one remaining since she has the highest health pool. She can't use her thunder attack if Bob-omb faints before she reaches half HP. Don't get tripped up and clap right back. Vivian, definitely the weakest of the 3 sirens. Kinda sad how she's put up front as a shield too. What kind of monster would do that to one of their partners? She can only deal 1 damage with her melee attack and 1 damage to both you and your partner with her fiery jinx attack, which can only be used once she reaches, say it with me, half HP. She can't jinx you if Bob-omb faints before she reaches half HP though. Blah blah, use earth tremor blah. How do their hats and gloves stay on them when they phase into the ground anyways? X-Naut. They can drink a potion to beef up, which will give them +2 attack. If you see one of them try it, then get him off the stage as quickly as possible. I can't believe these guys thought that using items during a match was fair in the slightest. That's just poor sportsmanship. Yucks. I feel bad for these things. I mean, look at their log entry. It calls them pathetically ugly creatures. It's not like they asked to be created that way. It'll spawn a mini-Yux after it's done taking its turn. This doesn't cost a turn though, so it'll attack and then spawn a mini-Yux afterwards. When a mini-Yux is present, it'll provide an impenetrable shield for Yux, making it so no attacks can affect it, so you've gotta take out the mini-Yux first. If the max amount of mini-Yux is surrounded, then it can use the combo beam, so take out these beautiful creatures quickly. Mini-Yux. Their main purpose is to provide an invincible shield for Yux, which can be accomplished if even one of them are on the field. They've only got 1 HP, but they're able to divide themselves, which could be annoying if left unchecked. If the max amount surrounds a Yux, then they'll participate in the combo beam attack, which honestly doesn't do much damage for what it's worth. If you're overran with these equilateral triangles, then use a spread move or Flurry's Gale Force to get rid of them. Piter. Hey Piter, where did your S go? They're similar to Dark Puffs in that they can change their positioning at the start of every turn without wasting a turn, but there is a pattern that they'll follow. They'll be in a zigzag formation with 2 or 4 total, and all be the same elevation with 1 or 3 total, switching orientations every turn. Personally, I find it pretty easy to super guard their attacks because of how much time you have to prepare against them. They go into pretty obvious arc after all.
Oh. Oh.
Magnus Von Grapple. Out of all the chapter bosses in this game, I'm willing to say this one's the easiest, if you don't count Hooktail with the cricket badge. Seriously, this guy can only do 2 damage by himself. He can send out 2 X-Fists, which can deal 4 damage apiece if they're given a turn to attack, but here's the thing, just don't give him a turn to attack. They only have 2 HP, so a Fire Flower or Earth Tremor will get rid of him easy while also dealing damage to Magnus himself. If neither of these options are available, then use Flurry's Gale Force to easily blow him away, or Mario's Multi-Bounce if you can get the timing right. The X-Fist can only attack whoever's in the front, so if you want to protect Mario, then keep a partner in front of him. Either that, or if you have Koops upgraded, cast a Shell Shield around Mario. This is an amazing defensive move, by the way, which is why I recommend upgrading Koops as soon as possible, like seriously. As for Magnus and his X-Fists, well, you can cross them off the list. KP Koopa. Despite the new coat of paint, KP Koopa is still a Koopa. Jump on him and watch as the audience laughs at his inability to get back up, which is rather mean actually. Sorry buddy, maybe you should train to get up and attack on the same turn like Kent C. Koopa from Koopa Village. KP Paratroopa. Make sure you bounce on his head twice. If you only do it once, then he'll land on the ground upright without his wings, but by doing it twice, he'll land on the ground upside down, as helpless as any other Koopa. Seriously, where is the wing insurance? How many times will their wings fall off before they start making some changes? Come on! Pokey, didn't expect to see one so far away from the desert. Also, am I the only one a little disturbed these creatures are sentient? Does that mean that all the Poke mummies in Dry Ruins were sentient too? Just waiting in those coffins? Ugh. Pokies can use up a segment of their body by throwing it at you as an attack. Super guarding it will actually launch the body segment back at the Poke that flung it, making this ranged attack one of the only ones in the entire game to cause damage back into the attacker when super guarded against. If a Poke's not flinging parts of itself at you, as gross as that is, then it's trying to slam itself into you, either with its body, if it has enough body segments to do so, or with its head, if it doesn't have any more body segments left. It can also summon another Poke to aid itself in battle. These things honestly just creep me out, so take them out, please. Lakitu. These guys haven't changed a bit, they still love raining down Spinies from the sky. They'll either throw one at you directly, or summon a Spiny for it to attack on its own. At the end of every one of its turns, it'll have a chance to hold on to a Spiny egg, which means no aerial attacks for you. The clouds they ride on are way too cute to be in a battle. Spiny. Being a ball of spikes with 3 defense has never been more annoying. It's already difficult enough to penetrate these defenses, but if they ball up, then nothing you do will deal any damage. You've got to wait until they pop out of their ball. It's possible to flip them over so their defense drops to 0, but their spikes make it difficult since you can't jump on them to flip them like you would a Koopa Troopa. A Pow Block, Earthquake, or Quake Hammer attack will do the trick though. Earth Tremor can do some damage too, but surprisingly, it doesn't flip enemies. Make of that what you will. Bandit. They seem to prioritize thievery over combat. If you don't guard against one that hits you, then it'll steal some of your coins. A bandit that's holding onto your coins will immediately flee the next turn, so don't let them get away. If you fight one of them in the Pit of 100 Trials and they flee, then you won't be able to move on to the next floor until you obliterate them and steal your stolen stuff back. Clock Out is pretty effective against them, so use it and rob them of their pride. Big Bandit. They can try for a steal at your coins or items. Make sure your guards are on point so nothing's taken away. Despite supposedly being above the other bandits, these guys are just as cowardly as they'll flee the next chance they get when holding on to either your coins or an item. They have more HP than regular bandits too, which in my opinion warrants a clock out for these conniving rascals. Hyperballed Cleft. A hyperballed Cleft is still a Cleft. A Pow Block or Quake Hammer will flip them over, making their defense values laughable. If you don't flip them over, then you risk letting one charge up, which will lead into a missile charge for 8 attack. If you're caught in a sticky situation, then use Clock Out since it's highly effective against these charging chumps. Bob-omb. You know, I like to think that after the events of Paper Mario, that all these enemies that were once under Bowser's rule were finally able to attain freedom and go do whatever they wanted. For example, There were tons of Bob-ombs in the Koopa Bros fortress, so it makes sense to me that once Bowser was defeated, they fled said fortress and went on their own journeys, with a few of them finding their place at Glitzville. Damaging them will light them up, making them vulnerable to self-destructing if you so much as inflict 1 point of damage. Even a status effect will do the trick. Make sure they aren't angry before their attack though, or you'll suffer explosions right to your face. You can set them off instantly if you want by using a fire, explosion, or electric attack. Iron Cleft. You literally cannot beat these guys on the first fight. You have to run. Yoshi's Gulp is their only weakness, so come back and fight them once you've got your Dino Pal and spit one of them at the other. Here's my question though. If their only weakness is bumping into one another, then how in the world are they not the champions of the Glitz Pit? No enemy above their rank, or heck, no enemy period, has the same kind of attack that Yoshi does. So why aren't they number 1? Red Spike Top. What in Mario Teaches typing is this thing? It's got 4 defense and a spike on the top? While that may sound deadly, simply use Yoshi's Gulp and you're good to go. Otherwise, use a Pow Block, Earthquake, or Quake Hammer attack to flip these red spike tops on top of their red spikes. Shady Koopa. Look, I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't care how many types of Koopas there are. If they can't get up and attack on the same turn, then they're no big Is he attacking while upside down? Dude, that's sick! Screw getting up, these Koopas are awesome! Unlike every other kind of Koopa Troopa, they're actually able to attack while on their back. And that attack deals double the damage what their normal attack does, making them a bigger threat when they're flipped over instead of standing up. Talk about turning a negative into a positive. How inspirational. Don't underestimate these guys, and let loose. Shady Paratroopa. If this enemy were able to do some wacky upside down shell shot for a high amount of damage, then I'd freak out, but luckily it can't. Take it down from the sky and treat it like you would a Shady Koopa. Green Fuzzy. This breed of Fuzzy is the only one that can make clones of itself on the battlefield. The clone will have identical stats to the original, making it less annoying than other enemies that flat out summon another version of itself at full HP. These guys suck away HP just like their regular Fuzzy friends, but they take away 3 per attack instead of 1, making them a little more dangerous. The timing to defend against any Fuzzy's Kiss-like attack is the same across the board. If you can defend against one, then you can defend against them all. Flower Fuzzy. This fuzzball's unique in that it doesn't siphon HP, but FP. It'll take 3 per attack if not defended against. After absorbing 3 FP, it has a chance of using FP Thunder, which will deal 3 damage to both you and your partner. If you don't have any FP left, then it'll simply attack for 3 damage. I'd focus on a green Fuzzy before a flower one, unless the latter manages to absorb some FP for its attack. Red Magikoopa. This one took up the offensive and defensive class at Wizarding School. It can cast an enlarged spell, Magic Shield, summon copies of itself to distract you, or simply attack with Geometry. Neither of those attack or defense boosts are nice. Neither are the copies, which only serve to distract you. If you come face to face with them, then use a spread move to find the real one. Oh, and get this, in Goombella's title for this foe, she says that the shade of red it's wearing is definitely not its color. But Goombario, the OG Goomba partner, called the red Magikoopa's robes snappy. Guess they have different tastes, huh? White Magikoopa, the healer of the team. Take him out first so you don't see any of them heal for 8 HP. That's overkill, or over heal. No one on the Magikoopa team has HP that even goes up that high. Oh, and also, if he makes copies of himself, then spread move away to find the real one. Green Magikoopa. This one's mastered status effects in the form of electrifying its allies or making its allies invisible. The former makes direct attacks painful, whereas the latter makes all attacks impossible to land. If it's alone, then it's cloning time. Use spread attacks like you're spreading butter over toast. Bowser. First battle. Didn't get enough from that coconut I threw years ago, huh? This fight will take place right after the rank 5 fight. So if you find yourself in a bad position, then run. Yeah, you can run away from this battle, but why pass up an opportunity to humiliate Bowser? And in front of an audience, no less. His jump will make you lose an action command if not defended against. His Poison Fang will inflict poison if your guard ain't up. All of his attacks only deal 3 damage apiece, which makes shrinking him with Mini Egg a fantastic option. To top it all off, he's only got 30 HP. Heal up from your previous battle and show Bowser what the Great Gonzalez is made of. Hammer Bro. They never got the hang of throwing their hammers straight at you instead of throwing in an arc, huh? The hammers themselves aren't too noteworthy and should be easy to defend against. When it reaches 3 HP or lower, then it'll lob 4 hammers in a frenzy. While scary, it shares the same amount of HP as the other bros, so I'd go for spread attacks over and over until they can't take it anymore. Boomerang Bro. I'd argue this bro's the strongest of them all. His boomerang throw will deal 4 damage to both you and your partner if not properly defended against. That multi-boomerang when it gets down to 3 HP or lower is a pain too. If you're not opting in for spread moves, then take this one out first if you can, although it may be annoying since he's hiding in the back. Like a coward. Fire Bro. All of his attacks can burn you crispy, and I'd wager that you don't taste very good. No offense, so be careful. He'll send out multiple fireballs when his HP is at 3 or lower. Spread moves are great, but if you can, try to make sure all the bros' HP stay above 3, and then knock them down to 0. Suffering all of their low HP attacks in one turn would be a bit much, wouldn't you say? Dark Craw. Same species as Gus it seems. You need to opt in for anything but an aerial attack cause that spear is sticking straight up. I find both his Spirit Ash and Spear Toss attacks to be predictable enough to super guard against. But if you're not confident in your timing, then defend instead. If this guy's giving you trouble, then make him fall asleep, use Clock Out, or shrink him. Don't let his scary eyes get the best of you. He's not too strong, I promise. Red Chomp. Let's see here. High HP, high attack, and high defense. This looks like a recipe for Yoshi's Gulp. Use it as soon as possible and watch them crumble before you and your green or red or blue or orange or pink or black or white Dino Pal. Dark Koopa Troll. That spiky headbutt will deal 5 damage, which is a little spooky, but that's nothing compared to the punishment you'll receive if you let him charge up and then attack. Your goal should be to either flip him to deal maximum damage, make him fall asleep, or stun him using Clock Out, which has a pretty good chance of working. Rawk Hawk. Aw yeah, it's time to rock! Sadly, as much as I love this guy, he's a total pushover under the right circumstances. But let's back up a little. He's got tons of moves. The slide kick, the double flip, the Superman slam, the prop drop, the drop shroom, the drop stomp, and the hip drop. Hey, wait a minute, that last one isn't real. Whatever, if you have Yoshi upgraded at least once, then use his mini egg attack as soon as you can. It has an incredibly high chance at working, which will reduce the champ's attack power to a puny amount. In addition, making him tiny, or sleepy, or immobilized will prevent him from using prop drop, which is potentially his most dangerous and unpredictable move. If he does shake the ceiling, then he'll keep on hanging there, and it's up to you to knock him down, either by Flurry's Body Slam or Earth Tremor. Really though, it's hilarious that this Hawk can get rocked by a Yoshi that was literally born yesterday. Macho Grubba. You know, there's some commentary here about using substances to make oneself stronger, but that's beneath me. And he'll be beneath you so long as you fight him the same way you fought Rawk Hawk. That's right, Yoshi's mini egg is just as useful here. Grubba will start out giving himself the fast effect, which lets him attack twice in one turn. But that and his other buffs don't matter nearly as much when he's dealing much less damage than normal. Backflip, more like back trip. Punch? Take him out to lunch. Seriously, Yoshi was made for this fight. No, really. This Yoshi was born in Glitzville. I can't think of anyone else that was more made for a fight in Glitzville than him. When it comes to the Great Gonzalez's attacks, strike with the power bounce when Grubba isn't chock full of defensive power. Hyper Goomba. Oi, 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 oi. This Goomba's loaded on caffeine, dude. When he's charged, he'll go in for a missile bonk for a solid 8 points of damage. Do you know how big the number 8 is? That's like 4 2s, 2 4s. That's terrifying. Get it away, hurry. Hyper Paragoomba. Oh jeez, it's just like the Hyper Goomba, man. I don't know what to do. Do something, anything. Jump, crystal stars, body slam. I don't care. Just get that thing off the screen before the terror that is 8 comes back to haunt us once it charges up. Hyper Spiky Goomba. It can deal 3 damage with a spike bonk, but when it charges up, then it'll be dealing a solid 9 damage. Which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't a big deal if you make sure you target them before they attack. Crazy Daisy. These flowery foes have a 30% chance of using their turn to flee the battle. Their attack is quite low, but trust me, they don't care about attacking, just singing. Their song is so nice that a few notes. Guard against. I actually have to yawn. Put you right to sleep. Make sure you get a good night's rest and try not to feel bad when attacking it. Amazy Daisy. Here we go. This flower is packing power. It's got 20 HP, 20 attack, and 1 defense. It also has an 80% chance of using its turn to flee the battle. The whole point of plucking the petals off this flower is to covet the plethora of star points that it drops upon defeating it. However, it's quite apparent that defeating it is no easy task, but it's one that we'll accept with vigor. If you're aiming to fell this demon while you're in the middle of Chapter 4, then you practically have to inflict a status ailment that'll stun it for multiple turns. Out of all your options, sleep seems to be the most likely at 50%. I wish the odds were better, but this is the best we've got. If making it fall asleep doesn't work, then that sucks, better luck next time. If it does work, then great. Hit it with the most powerful moves in your arsenal, and you'll see it defeated in no time. Hyper Cleft. Scary, scary, scary. If it charges up, then its next attack, the missile charge, will deal 9 damage. POW blocks, earthquakes, and your Quake Hammer attack will make quick work of the defenses by flipping them upside down. Earth Tremor is a strong spread move that can wipe them all out too, so long as your timing is on point. Remember that Yoshi's Gulp does piercing damage, so spitting one Hyper Clef into another will knock them both out. Atomic Boo. If this is how strong a boo can get when made up of a few hundred boos, I shudder to imagine how strong a boo made up of 1,000 could be. This Atomic Boo is an optional boss fight that's engaged by constantly knocking away the boos that hug you and creepy steeple. You can fight it whenever you want, it's all up to you. Its heavy drop will deal 4 damage to both you and your partner. It can summon tons of boos that'll spook you stiff. No, really, if you don't guard against their wailing tongues, then you may not be able to move for a while. It's quite funny, actually. If it uses a turn to cover its face, then that means on its next turn, it'll decide to spook, which will deal 4 damage to whoever's in front and 3 damage to whoever's in the back. This may inflict the Confusion status ailment, which will cause your characters to have a 50% chance of doing something you didn't tell them to do. That's super annoying. It also doesn't look very vulnerable to status ailments itself. That's okay though, it only has 0 defense. Take advantage of it and attack head on. If you're wondering why you'd want to fight this optional boss in the first place, then I'll tell you that Atomic Boo will luckily drop the Lucky Start badge upon defeating it, which, when equipped, will make something good happen when you first enter a battle. Swooper. What's quirky about this swooping menace is that it hangs from the ceiling, making it impossible for certain attacks to land. You've got to find a way to knock it down first. Flurry's Body Slam, Yoshi's Mini Egg, and Earthquake move, or anything else that can hit high enough should do the trick. Boo. With fangs like those, they could deal much more damage. I wonder why they don't use them. The most annoying parts about these spooky phantoms is that they can make themselves or an ally invisible, which will make your attacks totally phase through them. This is why you want to take them out quick so you aren't left twiddling your thumbs when it's time for your turn.
Oh? The horror.
Oh. Mamma mia.
Not sure what this thing is, but it's definitely strange, and it's the first time you fight it. It'll attack with a head missile for 4 damage. After a couple turns, it'll transform into you, using attacks like your jump and hammer. Other than that, it's not too impressive. Dootless. Sorry. Dootless. Okay, what? Dootless. Alright, I'm not sure what's going on, but this thing is you, and you can't deal damage to one another. At all. This is a fight you've got to flee until you restore honor back to your name. Buzzy Beetle. For defense? Psh, a simple jump will leave it helpless on its back. That's it. Have fun. Spike Top. Oh, okay. Now that high defense is a pain. You can either pierce the defense using a piercing blow or Yoshi's Gulp, or use an earth-shaking move that isn't Earth Tremor to flip him over so the defense is negated. Doopliss. I gotcha. Third battle. I found you, faker! This time around, Doopliss has your partners fighting beside him, but you don't even need to target them since the fight will end the moment Doopliss is taken out. However, each time you defeat a partner, they'll say a line, Doopliss will get annoyed, and then the next partner will swap in. This will keep happening until there are no partners left, leaving Doopliss to fight alone. There aren't even any star points to be gained from besting your buddies, but it is funny watching Doopliss get irritated that he's losing the fight. Doopliss will use Mario's jump and hammer attacks, which aren't very strong on their own. Each partner will fight you with their respective strength. For example, if you upgraded Goombella before this battle, then her head bonk is going to hurt more than if you didn't. While he's a tricky little demon, Doopliss isn't actually all that strong. So reclaim your name, your body, and your partners to close off the chapter. Ember. These spirit flames have a chance of burning you with their attacks if you don't guard against them. Their HP is high, sure, but they don't have any defense. Hit them with any attack that doesn't strike from above, or else your butt's gonna be on fire. However, if you have the Ice Power badge equipped, then that'll allow you to jump on them, since you'll be totally safe in doing so. You'll also deal extra points of damage too, since they're weak to ice and explosion attacks. You know, supposedly they're vengeful spirits of the recent dead. I wish there was some kind of way to help these guys instead of fighting them.
Oh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Way to go. Oh, yes.
Putrid Piranha. These plants really need to brush their teeth. You know it's bad when they're purple. That's gotta be the reason why their poison breath can inflict poison on you and your partner if you're not careful. They can even bite with that mouth. Ugh, at least it doesn't have any defense. That's a plus. Send them back to the dentist. Lava Bubble. These flames are hot, hotter than the embers from before, but less durable. Instead of 3 attack, these ones have 4, and instead of 8 HP, these ones have 6. You wonder if they invested in attack more than HP when they leveled up? Their fire attack may burn you if you don't defend against it. They don't have an attack that'll harm both you and your partner though, which is good. They're susceptible to ice and explosion attacks just like their ember friends. Bill Blaster. Okay, I understand how enemies like Bob-ombs may have traveled to Glitzville, but how in the world did Bill Blasters end up at Pirate's Grotto? Isn't Bowser the only dude that has the stuff to make them? Did they move to Pirate's Grotto on their own? Oh gosh, even imagining that gives me the creeps. They have no attack of their own. Their only purpose is to spawn bullet bills, either 1 at a time or 2 at a time. Sure, you can destroy the bullet bills themselves so you don't get hurt, but the battle won't end that way. The Bill Blaster needs to go down. Bullet Bill. They spawn from Bill Blasters. You mainly want to focus on the dispensers themselves, but if you're finding yourself overwhelmed with all the bullet bills, then use a spread move to take care of them. If you want results though, then use Flurry's Gale Force to eject them from the battle quicker than I can finish this sentence. Bulky Bob-omb. As cute as it may look, this bomb can do scary damage if left to its own devices. But that's the thing, it needs to be left to its own devices in order to do scary damage. They'll always follow the same attack pattern. Light their fuse, increase their defenses, increase their attack, charge up, and then explode. Freeze, stop, or sleep will delay their pattern, making it possible for them to explode before they even have the chance to boost their attack power. If you can't defeat them before all that, then run away or eat their explosions for dinner. But trust me, it doesn't taste very good. Fire and explosion attacks of your own will set them off early, which is an interesting way of defeating them. I just regularly attack though. Parabuzzy. 1 jump on their shell and they'll plummet to the pavement as a normal Buzzy beetle. 2 jumps in their shell and not only will they fall to the ground, but they'll be flipped over as well, which is essential to dealing maximum damage to such defensive enemies. Fire and explosion attacks do nothing to these guys. It's honestly hard to give advice on punishing these foes when they're so cute. Jeez. Cortez, the ancient pirate spirit from up above. His fight takes place in 3 separate phases, with him sporting 20 HP for each one. On the first phase, he has his weapons all to himself. For his first turn, he'll stab the character in front for 4 damage. On his second turn, he'll slash the character in the back for 4 damage. On his third turn, he'll attack 4 times on the same character, dealing 2 damage for every stab or slash. This attack deals a total of 8 damage if not guarded against. Knowing this attack pattern of his, you can easily make one of your partners walk the plank by positioning them where Cortez is going to strike. Oh, and that flurry attack I mentioned earlier, it may sound scary, but if you're unleashing strong attacks turn after turn, then he should fall before he even gets the chance to use it. On his second phase, he'll take the form of a snake and charge up to raise his attack power by 4. If you can't take him out on the turn he does this, then use Koops to protect yourself or Vivian to get yourself out of there entirely. If you hit his lower body twice, it'll open up his rib cage, which has -1 defense. meaning it takes an extra point of damage from all attacks. What a weak point! Keep on striking until he enters his third phase, which has his head floating alongside his 4 weapons: the hook, the saber, the rapier, and the sword. The hook deals 2 damage with a chance of inflicting poison if not defended against. The saber deals 3 damage, the rapier deals 2 damage to both characters, and the sword strikes twice on one character, 2 damage apiece. Cortez's head can headbutt or bite, which each deal 4 damage. Lastly, the hook is the only weapon to have any defense at 1. This phase may sound scary, but it's actually the easiest one. Flurry's Gale Force has an insanely high chance of not only knocking the weapons out, but removing them from the battlefield entirely, which means they won't even come back after a couple turns like they normally do. If you'd rather not use Flurry for whatever reason, then go for spread moves to make sure as many weapons are down as possible. Cortez's head itself doesn't pose much of a threat, so feel free to give him a headache. Once he's low in HP, he'll devour the souls of the audience to heal up. That's hardcore. Well, the audience will most likely become embers, so at least they'll be part of Cortez's crew. That's a plus, I think. Oh my gosh. What's this game's rating again? Lord Crump, second battle. In a similar vein to Cortez, this battle has multiple rounds, with Crump having 30 HP for each one. On the first round, he'll just try and hit you with body slams over and over. The real gimmick of this fight are the X-Nauts at his disposal. You'll see an X-Naut platoon huddled right in front of him. They have 6 HP and 5 attack. Just like their leader, they'll go in for a body slam. Crump may call down the X-Nauts to attack one by one from the ceiling, which may seem overwhelming at first, but if you have even a single defense point active, then this attack won't do anything to you. The worst that'll happen is you'll take 5 damage. They could also deal 4 damage to both characters in a single strike too, so watch out for that. When Crump's HP reaches 0 in the first round, then he'll leave the battlefield to go heal back up to 30, and the second round will commence. This time around, the X-Naut platoon will have 10 HP, with the added ability to roll up in a ball and deal 5 damage to both characters. Crump himself will still be a pushover, only dealing 3 damage with his same old body slam attack. X-Naut platoon. In the first round of the battle, they'll have 6 HP, and in the second round of the battle, they'll have 10 HP. I recommend targeting Crump instead of these guys, unless you're really scared of taking any more damage. Koopa Troll. Lots of moves, but still a Koopa Troopa. If you've got the Spike Shield badge equipped, then simply jump on their heads to flip them. This way you won't have to deal with their 2 defense. You could also use a Pow Block, Earthquake, or Quake Hammer to flip multiples of them at once. If they're standing, then they're able to charge up for their next attack, which you obviously shouldn't let them unleash unless you're some kind of masochist. They could summon another one of their kind if they wish. How annoying. Rip their armor off piece by piece. Magikoopa. This one's more balanced than the red, white, and green Magikoopas found in the Glitz Pit. It can both heal for 8 HP and give a status effect to itself or its ally. Regardless, I don't like my enemies healing, so I take a Magikoopa out before anything else. It can also make copies of itself, but it's easy to find the real deal by using a spread move.
Spaghetti. Ravioli. Mamma mia.
Aha!
Ruff Puff. These clouds are basically beefed up Dark Puffs from Chapter 2. No, really, they both have the same exact attacks. If one's charged, then don't directly attack it or you'll get zippity-zapped, my dude. With no defense, they aren't that big of a deal. The only thing that's irritating about them, aside from the electricity I guess, is their habit to switch positions mid-battle, forcing you to change which way you may have wanted to attack them at first. If you're caught in a tight spot, then use Gale Force to blow all the clouds away. Poison Pokey. These Pokies are basically beefed up Pokies from Chapter 3. No really, they both have the same exact attacks. Except these ones may inflict poison on you if you don't defend against them. They'll either slam you with their body or fling a segment of their body straight at you, which you can reflect back at them if you time a Super Guard. They may summon another Poison Pokey to aid them in the fight as well. I wonder how these Pokies became poisonous just by hanging out at Riverside Station. Huh. Spiky Parabuzzy. Jump on their spikes 2 times in a row and they'll fall down without any defense to rely on. If you only jump on them once, then they'll simply fall and become a normal spike top, which is still annoying to deal with because of all the defense. If you can't jump on spikes, then you can use Flurry's Gale Force to blow them away, or Lip Lock to pierce their defenses and heal her at the same time. Otherwise, a special move may be your best bet, bucko. Smorg. No status ailments will affect this thing. It's a clean fight against tentacles. Why does it have to be tentacles? In its first form, it has 3 tentacles which can each get a turn to attack for 5 damage. They have 4 HP apiece, making them easy to take out quickly. If even 1 tentacle is out, then the body has 1 defense. When all of them are knocked out, then the body is fully exposed to any lashings you want to give it. It won't stay like this forever though, as the tentacles will eventually regenerate. When Smorg reaches half its HP, then its tentacles will take the form of a long claw instead, which will deal 10 damage upon impact. Don't let it get to that point and unleash your strongest moves while it's still defenseless. Dark Boo. They can make themselves or an ally invisible for 1 turn. They're also able to float above the ground, obviously making ground attacks a no-go. When it comes to attacking, they'll scare you for 5 damage. I can't really say that these enemies are much of a threat otherwise. Ice Puff. Can't forget the chilly weather, huh? Joke's on them. I love the cold. If they charge up their icy powers, then don't attack them directly, or you'll suffer from a bad case of frostbite. Their frost attack will deal 5 damage to both you and your partner, with a chance of freezing either one if it's not defended against. Sometimes it'll hit you with a straightforward slam instead of the cool stuff though. Frost Piranha. Now this piranha's teeth are clean. Good work, Plant. Its jaw clamp, which likely smells minty, will deal 5 damage, and it has a chance of freezing you if not defended against. Don't you dare jump on those pristine teeth, or it'll chomp you good, unless you have the Spike Shield badge equipped. Like all piranhas, it loves to take naps.
Oh yeah!
Phew.
Arrivederci.
Oh.
Moon Clef. How are there clefs on the moon? Actually, judging by their name, they're probably made of the moon, which may explain their whopping 5 defense. You can flip them with your usual earthquaking moves that aren't Earth Tremor, and Explosion works nicely too. If you want to ignore their defenses entirely without flipping them over, then try using Yoshi's Gulp to bash them together. Z-Yux. It'll either shoot a ring at you for 4 damage or heal itself for 2 HP. At the end of every turn, it'll summon a mini Z-Yux, which will create an impenetrable shield around itself. This, of course, means that you have to take out any mini Z-Yuxes if you want to attack the Z-Yux itself. No worries though, they only have 2 HP and can't attack at all. Mini Z-Yux. A Z-Yux will spawn one at the end of every turn. Even if one exists, an invincible shield will form around the Z-Yux. With only 2 HP, these creatures are easy pickings. Just don't let more than one appear, or you may have to use spread moves to take them all out. Elite X-Naut. There's no buffer X-Naut than this one, but despite its high HP and attack, it wants to go even further beyond, since it can use a huge potion to increase its attack by 2. Its body slam is fairly straightforward, with no other notable characteristics. Cross Yux, like all the other Yuxes, but much better. Unlike the previous iterations, the ring toss from these blobs have a chance of immobilizing you if your guard isn't up. They can also zap you and or your partner twice with great damage. Don't get too worried though, since they're only capable of this if they have 4 mini Cross Yuxes surrounding them. At the end of every turn, it'll summon 2 mini Cross Yuxes, which again make that stupid impenetrable shield around itself. Just like with the other Yuxes, you need to take out these mini versions first in order for the shield to pop. Spread moves will prevent yourself from being overwhelmed with mini Cross Yuxes. Mini Cross Yux. A Cross Yux will spawn 2 of them at the end of every turn. Even one is able to form the invincible barrier around the Cross Yux. If 4 are present, then they'll assist the Cross Yux in its powerful zap attack. They each only have 1 HP, so wipe them out quickly with the spread move so more don't spawn. X-Naut PhD. What'd they get a PhD in? The obvious answer is, biology, but what kind of biologists are they if they're not following any safety regulations? The shame! They have tons of different types of chemical throws, all with differing effects. Blue will make itself dodgy, red will deal 4 damage and may burn ya, orange will restore 10 HP to itself or one of its allies, or 5 HP to itself and one of its allies, yellow will deal 4 damage to you and your partner, and lastly, purple will deal 3 damage to you and your partner with a chance of inflicting shrink. Treat these guys like you would Magikoopas, take away their degrees, and get them out of the building. Magnus 2.0. Crump, I don't care how many versions of this robot you have stored away in your basement. If your X-punches can get easily blown away by Flurry's Gale Force, then you're not a big deal. Yeah, he still hasn't fixed that. He'll spawn those X-punches for the first time once he reaches 63 or lower HP, and all you have to do to get rid of them is blow a puff of air. Their HP of 5 and attack of 9 doesn't matter at all in this scenario, but if for some reason you're about to get attacked by them, then keep in mind that they can only target the character that's in front, not in the back. His Magnus drill attack and flying disc will hit both you and your partner for 6 damage. His most devastating attack though is the rapid fire cannon, which he'll use for the first time once he reaches 35 or lower HP. With this attack, he'll suck up members of the audience and use them as ammo, which he'll unleash over and over at the character in front. That's actually hilarious. If you don't defend against any of the 10 audience members hitting you, which deal 3 damage apiece, then you can see up to 30 damage taken. Okay, less hilarious, that's actually really scary. If you're not prepared, either beef up your defenses with a courage shell or power lift and you'll find every shot doing nothing. If neither of these options are available to you, then make sure you have a party member up front to take the heat for you. What a good trooper. Magnus won't use this move if the audience isn't large enough, which is actually pretty rare, because, you know, you're a superstar. Gloomba, no defense, no awkward positioning on the field, and no notable qualities. Take it out however you wish, just make sure to split the check. Paragoomba, I'll still never understand how the wings work for these kinds of creatures. How is it that a single attack will cause them to detach from their bodies? Do they grow back? I've never seen it, have you? Start with something from the air, then you're free to attack it from the ground once it plummets. Sheesh. Spiky Goomba. How do these guys get that spiky hat? I get how a Spiky Goomba would, because it actually leaves its dungeon and explores the outdoors, but a Spiky Goomba? Where does it find one? Wait, that hat looks like the top of the red spike top enemy. You don't think that... No, that'd be a little too gruesome. Don't attack from above unless you've got the Spike Shield badge equipped. Otherwise, stay earthbound. Dark Koopa. I'm with Goombella on this one. What's the point of wearing sunglasses underground? I don't even know why I'm asking. It's obviously a fashion statement. A single stomp will send these stupid shell saps SOSing for assistance. Dark Paratroopa. You'd think that after all the times Mario has jumped onto a Koopa's shell, that they'd think about putting a spike up there in the same way that Spiky Goombas do. But no, they leave themselves vulnerable to getting grounded with a single stomp and getting grounded upside down with a double stomp. Quite sad indeed. Badge Bandit. Screw these guys. An enemy wants to steal one of my items, or more importantly, a badge? No. If they go in for a steal, then defend yourself and your bags. Don't worry about any bandits that get away though, since you're in the pit of 100 trials, where there is no escape. Dark Lakitu. Much like a Bill Blaster, you've got to take out this guy to end the battle. Wiping the field of Sky Blue Spinies will help out a little though. It can charge up its attack by +5, making things a little scary, so toss him back to Flower Fields before anything dangerous happens. Oh, and don't jump on him when he's holding up a Sky Blue Spiny, unless you're immune, after all. Sky Blue Spiny, 4 defense with the ability to make itself invulnerable? Great. You can flip him over with a jump if you can, or an earth-shaking move that isn't Earth Tremor. Make sure you take out the Dark Lakitu first, so no more of these Spinies show up. Wizard. It's got a Confusion Beam, and trust me, confusion is not a status ailment you want to have, as we talked about earlier. This foe can also raise its attack power and heal itself. The good part is that unlike the other wizards, this one can't create clones of itself, so no worries there. I'd get it off the field as soon as possible though, and if trouble arrives, then use Mini Egg to reduce the strength of all its moves. Spinia. Spinia, Spania, Spinia. It only has one move, Spin, for 7 damage. It's super straightforward, so if you're feeling up to it, then try a Super Guard out. It's quite vulnerable to Sleep, Stop, Soft, Dizzy, Confuse, Tiny, Freeze, and just about everything actually. Use whichever one fits your situation best, and it'll likely work out for the best. Dark Bristle. You can't approach it because of the spears on the ground, and you can't jump on it from above, unless you can. Regardless, its defense is pretty high, so flipping it over using a Pow Block, Earthquake, or Quake Hammer will make it vulnerable to all your awesome attacks. Just keep in mind that approaching it while it's upside down will still cause you to get poked. However, inflicting them with Stop, Sleep, or Freeze will allow you to approach them without getting poked. If you can, then a non-contact piercing move like Koops' Shell Slam can work wonders without all these extra steps. The same goes for special moves, but honestly, to me, all your moves are special moves. Arantula. Either come into the battle with a defense badge equipped, use a courage shell, or beef up your defenses with power lift. This will make their deadly multi-spit attack much weaker per hit. If you've got a fear of spiders, then no worries, because these ones are vulnerable to sleep, stop, soft, confuse, tiny, nearly everything. Piranha Plant. It can't poison you or freeze you, but what it lacks in status ailment attacks, it more than makes up for with attack power. 9? Get some hedge clippers in the form of sleep. Despite how much HP and attack it's got, this plant just loves falling asleep, or getting stopped, or confused, or softened up, or shrinked. Now that I think about it, a lot of the pit monsters are vulnerable to status ailments, even the ones that show up later on. We should be glad the devs took it easy on us in that regard. Elite Wizard. It's got magic, magic tickles, and more magic. It's even got 5 defense on top of it all. Either shrink it with mini egg or use a special move to bash down its HP and pierce its defenses. Fighting it fair will just leave you all crumpled up, unless you're doing Danger Mario strats, which isn't my style of play, but hey, do what's fun for you. Poison Puff. They can charge their poison around them, making it so direct physical attacks will hurt you. See, I get becoming electrified to shock your opponents, or even super duper cold to freeze opponents, but super duper poisony? Is that even a word? I don't know, it's just weird. Their poison blast will deal 10 damage to you and your partner, and you may get sick if you don't defend against it. They can also change their positions on the battlefield without wasting a turn. This is one cloud you don't want to be around. Bob-ulk. Similar to the bulky Bob-ombs found in Pirate's Grotto, Bob-ulks will always follow the same pattern if left to their own devices. Light their fuse, increase defenses, increase attack, charge up, and then explode. You can make them explode early by attacking with an explosion or fire attack as well. Swampire. It won't be found on the ceiling, but it will be found sucking you dry if you let it. 20 HP is a tall hurdle for a regular mob, but if you've come this far, then I think you can handle dishing out some damage. Making him tiny with mini egg will reduce his attack, which means it won't heal off of you nearly as much. You could also give yourself the electric status or use hold fast to prevent them from dealing any damage. Otherwise, you can blow them away entirely using Gale Force.
Oh!
Bonetail. Coming in at 200 HP, this boss has the most HP out of any enemy in the game. After all the years he spent down here, his breath has gotten nasty. So watch out for its white color, which can inflict sleep, green color, which can inflict confusion, purple color, which can inflict shrink, and blue color, which can inflict freezing. No matter what color breath comes out of him, it'll deal 8 damage, but you should opt in for regular guards instead of super guarding due to how harmful the negative status ailments can be. His Stomp and Chomp moves both deal 8 damage. The Chomp cannot be super guarded against. He can heal himself for 20 HP upon reaching half health, which is 100 HP, although he's more likely to heal upon hitting 50 HP instead. He can only heal himself 2 times in the whole battle. I recommend starting off with Power Lift. That boost to attack and defense will help you out a ton, especially if you've got Goombella or Yoshi ranked up, since you can use the former's multi-bonk for tons of damage or the latter's ground pound for a lot of damage as well. These two have lower health pools though, so you should send out Bobbery or Flurry up front to tank some hits for you. This is best done if you have quick change on so you don't end up wasting a turn. Flurry in particular can keep her HP up with attack boosted lip locks, making her super good for defense. Don't be reluctant to use your items in this fight. If you lose this battle, then you'll have to go through all 99 floors again if you want another go at this beast. Whereas the final boss has a save point right before it. So if anything, use your best items here if you're worried about losing. Give it your all and take that badge.
Here we go.
Swoopla. You'd expect these guys to hang from a ceiling like their swooper counterparts, but no, they're just flying in the air, not minding their own business. Their only attack is Suck, which will absorb 4 HP from you and get added to themselves, which can easily be prevented by having the electric status or using Hold Fast. These enemies are total pushovers if you defeat them one at a time. Bombshell Bill Blaster. It can't attack on its own, but it can summon Bombshell Bills. It'll either shoot out 1 or 2 on its turn. For your sake, I hope they only go for 1, or else you'll have to deal with multiple Bombshell Bills. You've got to take out this Bill Blaster if you want the battle to end, since they'll just keep on firing more and more for as long as they can. Bombshell Bill. With 3 HP, 6 attack, and 2 defense, these are the most solid type of bullet bills you'll see around. Clear them out if they start to become a hassle, but focus your efforts on destroying the actual Bombshell Bill blaster instead so the battle will end. Phantom Ember. This flame's a burnin'. It's got 10 HP and 5 attack? That's it? That's only 1 more attack than the lava bubbles from Pirate's Grotto. How disappointing. Don't jump on them unless you've got the Ice Power badge equipped. Their fireball attack will leave you burned if not defended against. What's even sadder about these spirits when compared to the embers from Pirate's Grotto is that they aren't just angry, but confused. What's that supposed to mean? Confused? Isn't that weird? I can think of tons of reasons why a soul would be angry or full of hatred, but confusion, that's such a unique feeling and kind of a sad one when you think about it. Almost as if they don't know why they're in the form they're in. Poor guys. I hope they eventually find their way out of this palace and towards Cortez. He seems like a pretty cool guy. Maybe they'll find some happiness there. Dry Bones. They can throw a single bone for 5 damage, throw 3 bones for 3 damage each, summon another Dry Bones, and resurrect with 8 HP if they're given the chance to. Defeating one with a fire or explosion attack will keep him down for good though. With these guys, I opt in for as many spread moves as possible, hoping to take them down all at once. Did you see that title entry, by the way? Dry Bones are former Koopas whose spirits animate their bones? Jeez, there isn't even any talk about these Koopas being angry or vengeful either. They're just ordinary Koopas who now possess Dry Bones. I'd like to hope that there's a happy story behind all this. Dark Bones, the champ of all the other bones. It's got 20 HP, 5 attack, and 2 defense. Man, it must have really got a lot of calcium in there, huh? This one has the same moves as the others. It can throw a single bone for 5 damage, 3 bones for 3 damage apiece, summon a Dry Bones, and resurrect with 20 HP. Oh, that's different. Because of that little detail, you basically have to take out all the bones at once. Attack the Dark Bones and lower his HP by a bit. Don't take him out yet, unless you're confident that your next attack will wipe out the other bones. When his HP is low, then hit him and the other bones with a spread move or 2 to knock them all out. Alternatively, you could finish off any of the bones with a fire or explosion move so you don't have to worry about them coming back at all. Chain-Chomp. What's up, buddy? Who's a good boy? Not you apparently, since you're in the Palace of Frickin' Shadow. These dogs have 7 HP, 6 attack, and 5 defense. Oh my golly. You've got to find a way to pierce through that if you want to stand a chance. Special moves could work, as well as Flurry's Lip Lock or Yoshi's Gulp, which are both moves that don't care about enemies' defenses at all. Fire and ice attacks won't work in the slightest, by the way. If you're in trouble, then try going for Clock Out or Yoshi's Mini Egg. The latter has a high chance of making them tiny, which in turn makes their only attack, the Chomp, a much weaker move. Gloomtail. No crickets to help you out here. Old Doom and Gloom's got Poison Breath, which may poison you if not defended against. He's also got Stomp and Chomp, which both deal 8 damage. His Earthquake attack will deal 10 damage to both you and your partner. But if you've got Vivian or Flurry out, then they won't be hurt, since they, hover above the ground. Gloomtail will always use this Earthquake attack the moment he reaches 48 HP or less. He'll charge up when his HP reaches 32 or less. This serves as a warning for Mega Breath, which he'll use on the very next turn. Get hit by this straight on and you're looking at 16 points of damage. That's so brutal, I can't even show it here. Just avoid it with Vivian and you're good. Funny enough, Gloomtail has an incredibly low chance of getting KO'd by Showstopper, a special move which the game itself claims does not work on bosses. Obviously, I don't recommend going for this because the odds are slim, but it's interesting nonetheless. He doesn't have any strange defensive capabilities, so whatever attacks deal most damage should be fine. Beldum, second battle. She's back and with more moves than ever. Ice Punch deals 5 damage, not much to worry about on that front, it's pretty straightforward. This time around, her Blizzard attack may freeze you or your partner if you don't defend against it. You don't want to be frozen when Marilyn is on the field, since she can charge up for her next attack and deal tons of damage. That growth spell can be a doozy if it's used on Marilyn too. Shrink can be annoying, but I don't think you losing 2 attack is as big of a deal as losing an entire turn if hit by her slow spell. It's so annoying, especially because she's able to just turn around and give herself or an ally an extra turn whenever she wants. Toxic magic is a thing too, which will inflict poison on you or your partner. Talk about a moveset. With 10 HP less than Marilyn and Dupless, I take her out first, because all those moves sound like a headache waiting to happen. Marilyn, second battle. Unlike her sister, Marilyn has a small move pool. She can only clap for 7 damage, charge up to increase her next attack by 7, or strike with thunder. If you see her charged up, then try out a solid shell shield, or take her out before she gets the chance to use her next attack. Dupless, fourth battle technically. Definitely and sadly the weakest of the 3 in this fight. As himself, he can only attack with a head missile, which deals 6 damage. His main trick though is transforming into Mario or whichever partner you currently have out. Neither is a big deal, honestly. If he turns into Koops, then he can use Power Shell and is 100% weak to Soft. When he's Bobbery, he's 100% weak to Freeze, and when he's Flurry, he's 100% weak to Dizzy. Dark Wizard. What a creepy enemy. It's got some solid stats along with a solid move pool, including magical abilities to attack from afar, charging up its attack, recovering HP, and creating clones when it's left alone. If it puts stocks into the clone business, then use a spread move to scope out the real one. If you inflict it with a burn beforehand using a move like Shade Fist or Fiery Jinx, then the burn will reveal the real deal for you. Mini Egg will make this foe tiny in an instant, so you never have to feel overwhelmed at its many hands. Just kind of floating there. Sir Grotus. Hitting his scepter will make his next attack have a chance to fail. The more damage, the better. Fire Drive is good for this since you'll hit both him and his scepter. You'll know you dealt good damage when you start seeing smoke seep from the scepter itself. At the end of his turn, he'll freely summon 2 Grotus X's. each one providing a point of defense against non-elemental attacks for the big bad himself. They can also attack for 4 damage apiece. Speaking of that forbidden number, 4 of these pests will give him an invincible shield, so make sure you're disposing of them as they come. He possesses multiple magical abilities, such as Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and Ice Beam, which are all Pokemon moves, funny enough. They'll each hit both you and your partner, the last of which may freeze you if you're not careful. He can also give you the Stop status ailment, give himself the Payback ailment, which will cause him to counterattack direct strikes, and give himself the Dodgy ailment, which makes it harder to hit him. Keeping tabs on the Grotus X's will lead to your victory. Attacking the Scepter isn't super necessary, but it can be a great help if you decide to go for it. Grotus X. Each one equals 1 extra defense point against non-elemental attacks for Grotus. When there's 4 of him present, then Grotus will be protected by an invincible shield to non-elemental attacks. These guys aren't any slouches on their own though. They've got 4 attack, so don't ignore them unless you want to take in tons of zaps. Bowser, second battle. He's back and on the attack with no new attacks. Just Jump, which may take away commands if you're not careful, Poison Fang, which may poison you if you're not careful, and Fire Blast, which is a special move that only has a 70% accuracy and is super effective. Wait, hold on. My bad, Fire Blast, which will hit both you and your partner, no burns though. This fight takes place right after the Grotus bout, so take a look at your stats and restore them if you're low. Bowser's incredibly susceptible to Yoshi's mini egg, so make sure it's used. He being tiny will make this fight a lot easier to handle. Every other status ailment besides soft and burn isn't worth using, but hey, Showstopper has a tiny chance of instantly KOing Bowser if you're feeling up for it. No, don't do that. Unless your primary objective is to style, in which case, send me footage of it, really, I'd laugh. Bowser will often get healed or powered up by KP Koopa, which means you should probably take her out first. I'd begin my turn by throwing mini eggs at Bowser's mohawk, then focusing the rest of my attacks on KP Koopa until she's down. KP Koopa. Her only attack is Magikoopa Blast, which isn't a big deal, honestly. That's because she's the support in this fight, using helpful spells on herself and Bowser. She can make herself or the King Koopa huge, invisible, electrified, have boosted defense, or get healed for 8 HP. She'll heal quite often, preferring whomever isn't as healthy, but she'll always prefer Bowser if she is over 30 HP. Her huge and defense plus spells will mainly be used on Bowser, whereas her electric and invisible spells will mainly be used on herself. This annoying Koopa needs to go down as soon as possible, no questions asked.
Oh. Huh? Oh. Hmm? Mamma mia.
Let's go!
Shadow Queen. First battle. The Den of the Demon. This has got to be the most amazing twist I have ever seen in a Mario game. I wish they'd return to stuff like this. On turn 1, she'll use a Thunderbolt. On turn 2, she'll increase her attack and defense by 3. On turn 3, she'll bring you onto the floor with hands. After that, she'll do whatever she wants until she gets below 90 HP, which will prompt her to transform and become invincible. In order to advance the fight onto the second phase, you need to hit her on 3 separate turns. If you're concerned about managing your HP, FP, or star power, then don't worry, that'll all be restored at the beginning of the second phase, so use them however you like to stay in it. Shadow Queen. Second battle. The fight to end all fights. On turn 1, she'll open with a Thunderbolt. Turn 2, she'll charge up her attack by +7. On turn 3, she'll unleash her Dark Wave attack, which, to be frank, looks scary. It'll deal 14 damage if you don't do anything about it, so do something about it. Use Vivian to hide away, Koops to provide a shield, or a Boo's Sheet to make yourself invulnerable. Keep in mind that only one of those options will protect both you and your partner, so if you want both to stay safe, then prioritize using Vivian. After the Dark Wave attack, she'll do whatever she deems necessary to grant you a game over. That could be buffing herself with +3 attack and defense, breath attacks which deal 4 damage and can inflict the poison, confusion, or allergic status ailment, or any move that she's previously used. Make sure you, as always, try to defend against those breaths. The Shadow Queen's hands attack independently of their body, so treat them like a separate enemy. One can slap for 7 damage, which is a pretty straightforward move, or drain your HP for 7 damage and add it to itself, which is a bit more dangerous because then it'll restore its HP. Although its low HP of 5, along with 0 defense, means it's highly unlikely that you're not going to knock it out instantly as soon as you take a turn to damage it. If one is killed, then it'll automatically respawn at the start of the next turn. They can shift into Dead Hands form before Shadow Queen attacks, even if they were both knocked out. Normally, they'll attack before her, but if they respawn or switch forms on any given turn, then they'll attack after her instead. The hands will never attack nor respawn while the Shadow Queen is charged up. While the right hand is present, you can target it or the Shadow Queen with grounded attacks such as the hammer. This means that powerful ground moves will work against her and her hands, no worries there. You're 100% guaranteed to get a Shine Sprite bingo from the first 3 moves you land your action commands on, which means you can release all of your star power and FP early on, and then have it get fully replenished by the Shine Sprite bingo after you land your 3rd action command. Keep in mind that the Shine Sprite bingo will heal you up too, so you could actually fail the 3rd action command on purpose if you want to stall out the Shine Sprite bingo until you need it most. The stakes on this battle are higher than they've ever been, so use every trick up your sleeve to ensure that this demon is sent to her final resting place until the end of time itself.